The following is a presentation of KBTC Profiles.
This is a map of TULE Lake concentration camp. Block 45 is where my family was. They were there for 3.5 years. I am a freelance writer and I live here in Tacoma, Washington. My father was born in the 1930s and he's Japanese American, second generation Japanese American. My grandfather and grandmother were sharecroppers in Northern California. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, they were shocked like anybody else. President Roosevelt declared that day, December 7th, a day of infamy. 2 months later, he signed Executive Order 9066, which authorized the removal of Japanese Americans from the West Coast. My father and his family, 4 siblings, and my grandparents were forced within 2 months to pack up their belongings. They were told, we believe by the Japanese American Citizens League, to burn as many of the pictures, photographs, anything that had Japanese written on it that could make them look suspicious. They were shipped to TULE Lake. I had talked to my oldest aunt before she passed away, and she has this beautiful scrapbook. My aunt was 16 when she entered camp. This picture always gets me because this is a picture of my dad. He's on the right. And it's my dad in camp. I moved to Tacoma in 2004. Certainly, there's still Japanese American folks here now. It's just a much smaller percentage than it was before the war. Here we are at the University of Washington Tacoma campus. You might not know it, but we'd be right in the middle of one of the biggest Japantowns on the West Coast per capita, one of the most dense. It's stretched for about 8 to 12 blocks right around this area in the downtown core. I came across this hand-drawn map of Japantown, and it was then that I really felt this sense of loss. It became important to me to really dig into the city's Japanese American history. I'm standing across the street from what used to be the Japanese language school. It was called NIHONGO GAKKO. This is where the students would come after school to learn their language, learn about their culture. It was a school that the Issei, the Japanese immigrants, first built. We're at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple. It is the last institution that we have from pre-war Tacoma Japantown that is still serving a Japanese American community.
I'm a third generation Japanese American. My grandfather came over as an immigrant. Third generation is known as Sansei. My family came to Tacoma in the 1917 time frame. This temple was actually established in 1915. The role of this temple basically was a social center point of the Japanese American community. In this hallway, you're going to find a lot of history about the temple. So this is a copy of the ledger of all the people who donated to build this temple back in 1929. This happens to be my grandfather right here, Haruaki Yotsue. Over here we have a picture of Sunday school in front of the Lorenz Hotel. It's the third location that they used prior to this building being built. Here we have a photo from 1927. It's when Seattle, Betsuin, and the Tacoma Buddhists basically had baseball competitions on a yearly basis. It lasted up until the war.
It's one thing to learn history from a book or a photograph, a documentary, but there's something about standing in a particular place and knowing what that history has been. It grants that person standing there a particular kind of empathy. In Japanese American communities, the saying is never again is now, particularly now, given the rise of xenophobia, anti-Asian racism, family separation. A lot of folks now have taken that as a moral imperative to speak up about what happened to our community and to draw quite direct parallels, to call out for solidarity with folks like the Black Lives Matter protesters, with kids and families at the border. We hope that we get to be the friends that we did not have.
KBTC profiles are available at kbtc.org.